Senator Jim Molan is a man we love talking to about matters to do with defence. He joins us now from the world of lockdown like everyone else. You wrote a great piece about wargaming and wargaming into the future. It's a reflection of some conversations we've had in the past. Before I get to that, I want to ask you a couple of things. What did you think of Albo, literally in the past couple of days, saying that front and centre in the Australia-US alliance, should he ever become Prime Minister, is climate? I was not China, not any of the issues that you write about, climate change. That's what, of course, we need America's help with.
Paul, it indicates without fail that the Labor Party have not learned. I'm kind of the greatest critic of the coalition government's national security and defence policies. And I've been called the opposition spokesman on defence. I don't know if it's a title I should be proud of, but Albo has just proven that from the Rudd-Gillard-Rudd years, he has learned absolutely nothing. And anyone who would put the national security or defence of this country into the hands of the Labor Green government is stark-raving mad. What he's done is he has no comprehension of how important strategy is. He's gone back to this old defence idea of doing a defence posture review. Give me strength. And I'll bet he says, in order to save money, we won't do anything for the 3 years that we do a defence posture review in. Paul, I thought it was the greatest thing in the world for the re-election of the coalition government.
Yeah, I thought it was just, I could hear that bell ringing too. I don't think many people caught it, but you did, I did. We talked about it on the show. He's telling you up front. And I said, apart from anything else, you want to know about the fork in the road coming up at the election, it's about attitudes towards China. And if you want to talk about the fork within the fork, it's what Jim's talking about our preparedness to respond to military threats that could be places like China. Now, defence procurement is such a dog's breakfast. We've talked about this many times before. But again, fundamental to your thesis, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, just trying to explain to people, is that you can't always rely. America is always there. There will be moments where they could be drawn away and you need to have a capability to defend yourself. Is this a message that is going to penetrate, because you've got less than a year before that next federal election, to what the offering will be at the next federal election?
I don't know that. I have advocated very, very strongly internally that occur. We're kind of split at the moment because we've got the national security ministers going out and doing great things in relation to the many, many legacy problems that we've got. We've got a level of, I wouldn't call it desperation, but priority put on the fact that we've got to get across to the United States. We've got to get this quad up and working. That's only one of the problems. The problems that we face in managing the rise of China, not to mention Russia, Iran and North Korea, of managing the rise of China and the diminution of US power. And it's not an occasional thing, Paul. US power has fallen 30 to 50% by US statements since the end of the Cold War. They have failed. The reason the word war game is in the title of the article I wrote in the Australian is because the Americans continually run war games on how they will manage if something happens around Taiwan. And guess what? They continually lose. Now, if they lose in that, they may be forced not to come out and actually contest what happens in Taiwan. So Taiwan will somehow go back, a democratic country, 25 million people, just like us, will go back to China. If they do come in and try and do something, then they're likely to be beat. What does that mean for Australia? It means that the US is likely to be forced out of the Western Pacific because Taiwan a Taiwan war, the Taiwan scenario, will involve China attacking and destroying American military in Guam, in Japan and in South Korea. That will mean the Americans are out of the first, second and third island chain and they're on the west coast of the US or in Hawaii or in Diego Garcia or in Darwin. What that means for Australia, Paul, is we've got to think of procurement in a totally different way. It's not the old-fashioned procurement where, really dumb, we could say we need submarines in order to keep the dockyards working. And we will build one every 2 years starting in 2034, and we'll do the last one in 2054, whenever it is, and that keeps the dockyards. So the aim is not to have submarines. The aim is to keep the capacity of the dockyards working. Now, that was made in a period of time when no one cared about submarines. Now everyone cares about submarines, but we're still running on the old way of building them.
Yeah,
This is, and it's not just defence. It's the nation which lacks self-reliance and the nation lacks resilience. We end up with a defence force, the best that's ever been, but it lacks lethality, sustainment and mass for the future.
I tell you what, I'm loving the news that almost every single day, Peter Dutton and Maurice Payne are doing this incredible double act around the world right now. Closer military ties just in the past 7 days announced with India, South Korea and Indonesia. That is a phenomenal building of a patchwork of the places in this part of the world, isn't it?
Oh, it is, without doubt. Unfortunately, the history of alliances with the United States, be it us, we're better than most, or be it NATO, is that as soon as you get into a big alliance with the United States, you immediately stop investing in your own defence force. And you think to yourself, well, you know, we're in alliance with the United States. US American kids, men and women, can come to Australia and die for us. I think what they're doing is fabulous at the moment. It is very, very good, but it is no substitute at all for us being self-reliant in relation to defence. By being self-reliant doesn't mean we push these things away. What it means is that we are the better ally, and that's the key point. So I will watch very closely what they do, and I will be very, very careful that not just alliances, but also we've got to increase our own industry, education, everything that applies to national security plus defence.
Geez, you're a good bloke. Thank you, mate. Really appreciate it. Love having you in the Parliament. I love a good fire up. Good to hear you, mate. Thank you, Senator Jim Molan.
Thanks, Paul.